One of the most accurate pollsters in America shows Donald Trump with a big lead over Kamala Harris. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back in with a new video, and today we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because Donald Trump has taken a huge lead over Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's right. Remember how everyone was saying that Kamala Harris had a 15-point lead, she was going to win in a landslide, it was over for Trump? Well, we have a brand new poll that was just released from Atlas Intel, and they found Donald Trump with a 3-point lead. Yeah, not a 1-point lead, not a lead for Harris, not a 2-point lead. No, Trump plus 3. And if you included people like Jill Stein and Cornel West, I believe it ends up being Trump plus 4. Yeah, this is from Atlas Intel. And for those that don't know, Atlas Intel is easily one of the best pollsters out there. And for those that don't believe me, even 538 back in 2020 admitted, yeah, Atlas Intel was the most accurate pollster in 2020. Not one of the most accurate, they were the most accurate pollster. So when they found Donald Trump with a 3-point lead, everyone lost their minds because just a day ago we had like a Harris plus 6, Harris plus 5. But then out of the blue, Atlas Intel drops a Trump plus 3. And like I said, back in 2020, they were the best pollster. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. Even 538 admitted, yeah, they are pretty correct. They know what they're doing. They're accurate. Back in 2020, they were the best pollster. Which, by the way, isn't it ironic that they're the #1 pollster? That's just a fact, not just an opinion. It's a fact. But they're like the 70th ranked pollster on 538's garbage scorecard. That's a fact. I mean, seriously, like, they're like ranked number 70. It's something insane like that. But you have Quinnipiac that was off by 7 points back in 2020. Yeah, they were off by an average of 7 points. They're considered like the 12th best pollster. Data for Progress off by 5. YouGov off by 5. PPP off by 7. They're all good pollsters. But Atlas Intel, which even 538 admitted they were the most accurate pollster, by some miracle, they're ranked like number 30th or whatever. It's something crazy like that. And for those that don't believe the scorecard, just go on the website right now. Their final 2020 poll was Biden plus 5. They were off by like a half a point. They were spot on. Compared to other pollsters, this might have been the best poll of the 2020 cycle. I can't think of any other pollster that was this close. There might have been 1 or 2 other ones that were like Biden plus 4 or 3, or even 5. But Atlas Intel, in August, they had it Biden plus 3. In October, Biden plus 5. And even in 2022, their final generic ballot was roughly R plus 4. It was off by 1.5 points, but again, when you have statistical noise, you have margin of errors of like 3 points. Being off by a point is good. That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be off by, a point. It's so hard to be exact. But even in 2022, Atlas Intel, they had an R plus 3 and R plus 4, which is roughly in line with what we saw. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're going to be perfect this time around. They're probably not. But this is the best pollster out there, and they found it Trump plus 3. Which makes you really wonder, where the hell are they finding Harris plus 6? Where? If Atlas Intel, which is, again, the most accurate pollster, if they're finding Trump plus 3, Trump plus 4, which I forgot to mention, this is actually a swing towards Trump since July. And for those wondering, yes, this is post-debate. This is 100% post-debate. They have a large sample size, so you can't just say, well, they have a small sample size or it's pre-debate, so it doesn't matter. No, this is completely post-debate. And they found Trump with a 3-point lead, which, like I said, is better than they had in July when it was Trump plus 2. Which is kind of odd. Like, I'm not going to say that Trump's will be winning by 3, but isn't it very strange that the most accurate pollster back in 2020, they found no shift in Harris's support. She was at 48% back in July. Now she's still at 48%. No change. While Trump, he went up by roughly a point. This is a big deal because this isn't, Rasmussen, which I think they are better than some people claim they are, but they're not perfect, obviously. This isn't like Rasmussen finding Trump +3, which, by the way, they just found Trump +3. This is Atlas Intel, which even 538 admitted they were the most accurate pollster back in 2020. I think it's a pretty big deal that they found Trump with a 3-point lead, because even if they're off by, let's just say 3 points, let's say they overstate Trump's support by 3, which is highly doubtful. I don't think that's going to happen. But okay, let's say they're off by 3 points. The problem is, even in that scenario, a tied popular vote, that's still a Trump win. You would have to be off by like 6 to 7 points to get a Harris win here. So you can't spin it as, well, the polls could be off in favor of Harris. Okay, maybe by a couple points. You're talking about a polling miss greater than even 2020 was. That's not going to happen. And remember, back in 2020, you had some real bad pollsters like Public Policy Polling. You had Change Research, Monmouth, Quinnipiac, SSRS, all the same pollsters that are garbage. They're off by 7, 6, 10 points. You're talking about that type of error from Atlas Intel. Is it possible? Maybe. But I find it very suspicious that the most accurate pollster found Trump's lead expanding. They found him up by 3 points. They're not showing a Harris surge. And this is post-debate. And before I forget, this same poll had Harris as the winner of the debate. Yeah, that's right. The same poll that Trump +3, they asked, okay, who won the debate? And I believe it was like 48% for Harris and like 38% for Trump. So that means the same poll that's Trump +3, they found Harris as the victor of the debate. Yet his lead expanded. What does that tell you, by the way? People think Harris won the debate. Okay, fine. Yet they're swinging towards Trump? Makes you really wonder, did she really win the debate? Maybe in the traditional sense of, oh, she, did not fall over and die like Joe did. But she didn't talk about policy. She didn't answer any questions. She looked awkward. It's like, that's the victor of the debate? I don't think so. That might have been just, oh yeah, she didn't fall apart like Joe did. That's why she won the debate. But in reality, Trump actually won on the policy. He won on what mattered. He didn't win on, vibes or whatever, but he won on everything else, basically. Again, Atlas Intel, they could be wrong, but like I said, do people really think they're going to be off by 5 to 6 points? Is it possible? I guess. But if they're finding a Trump +3, who do you think I trust more? Atlas Intel with the Trump +3, or do I trust Ipsos with their Harris +6 or whatever? I trust Atlas Intel way more than Ipsos. And it could average out and, it's actually, Trump +1 or Harris +1, which again, that's still Trump victory. That's what could happen. I'm not denying that. But why would people put their trust into Ipsos, into Quinnipiac, into Monmouth, into even like CNN or even NBC? Or hell, even New York Times. The New York Times, yeah, they found a Trump lead, but it's entirely possible next month they drop a poll from North Carolina where Harris is up by 7 points or whatever. Who do I trust more? Those same clowns? Or do I trust Atlas Intel? I think I'm going to go with Atlas Intel. Now, I'm curious to see what other pollsters drop. Maybe we get something from Emerson College, maybe something from really anyone else except Quinnipiac and Morning Compost. But I find it so fascinating that the most accurate pollster in 2020 and a good pollster back in 22, they're finding Trump with a +3, which I didn't think was going to happen. I really thought that right now his best case scenario was, Trump +1 or Trump +2, not Trump +3. And if Trump really wins by 3 points, for starters, you're talking about states like Minnesota, Virginia, Maine, being at risk of flipping against Harris. That's a fact. But if it's really Trump +3, it would make sense why the Harris campaign, they are panicking about Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia. They basically said that they're banking their entire campaign on North Carolina. That's what they admitted to CNN. That if they lose North Carolina, they're basically done. They can't win without it, and they're getting crushed in Georgia, getting crushed in Arizona and Nevada. It's not looking good for them in Pennsylvania. That's what they admitted to CNN. So if they're getting crushed there, if that's what they're willing to admit, what's actually happening? Are they really down by 3 points? I'm not saying they are, but it makes you really wonder. If they're panicking about the Sun Belt, if they're getting crushed in Pennsylvania, and they're banking on North Carolina, what are the actual polls showing? Why are they up in New Hampshire defending? Why are they up in Minnesota and Virginia holding rallies? If they were really up by 5 points everywhere, you should not be in Minnesota and New Hampshire defending those states. You should be in Pennsylvania. You should be in Michigan, Wisconsin. Hell, even North Carolina. I can understand that if you're trying to expand the map. But they are actively campaigning in deep blue states. What does that tell you about this campaign? It really makes you wonder, oh, maybe this Trump +3, it could be off by a couple points, but maybe they're onto something. Maybe they realized, oh, wait a minute, we're not up by 5 points everywhere. We are actually down. And it's getting really bad where we have to defend New Hampshire and Minnesota. I'm not saying that's going to happen, by the way. I'm not saying that Trump's going to win Minnesota. But the way their campaigns have been acting makes you really wonder, why are you in Minnesota? Why are you in Virginia and New Hampshire? Shouldn't you be in Pennsylvania? Shouldn't you be in Wisconsin and Michigan every single day? Not, oh yeah, we'll do some events in Pennsylvania and North Carolina, but then do some events in New Hampshire, in Virginia, in Minnesota. It really makes you wonder. Now, the funniest part about this entire poll dropping is how Democrats responded. You know, it's a Trump +3 from a good pollster. That's not good for them. So instead of looking at the poll and saying, well, maybe they're overstating Trump by a little bit, which would make sense. Like, okay, fine. Maybe they're overstating Trump by a point. That's entirely possible. You know what Democrats do? They say the poll is fake. They oversampled whites by a lot, even though they didn't. You can't make this up. These people claimed that having a 70% white sample is too white. For those that don't know, Pew Research, Fox News, CNN, when you average up all the exit polls from 2020, it was roughly 71% white. So you're telling me that having a sample that's 70% white is too white. That's how these people responded. So they just said, the poll is fake, it's complete bullshit, ignore it. It's from a fake pollster, which it's not. It's from Atlas Intel. One of the best pollsters out there. But according to Democrats, it's all fake because, it's too white. Which is very stupid because when you look at early voting in North Carolina and even Georgia, it looks bad for Democrats because it's way more white than 2020, or hell, even more white than 2022. Which again, I'm not saying the electorate's going to be 80% white. That's never going to happen again. But if it's 72% white, that's entirely possible. So Atlas having it 70% white is not that crazy. It kind of makes sense. It's kind of in line with what everyone's projecting. But Democrats, they cannot handle the fact that a very good pollster has Trump up by 3. Again, they might be overstating Trump by a couple points, fine. But to completely discredit the poll because it's 70% white, that's how people are responding. It's not like, it's 80% white. It's 70% white. If it was 80% white, that's one thing. But these same people don't question a D+15 poll from YouGov. But they question a 70% white poll from Atlas Intel. It's just bizarre. But we gotta see what happens. Maybe they're a fluke. Maybe they're a big outlier. They are. But if Atlas Intel is right that Trump's up by 3, you're talking about Virginia, Minnesota, New Hampshire potentially flipping. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what it looks like here. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts, the description down below. and of course join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.